The millionaire burns with jealousy watching the girl shine by the pool on vacation. Jack Thompson stood at the edge of his sprawling Californian estate, eyes locked onto the shimmering blue pool where Emily had just appeared. But this wasn't the Emily he knew, the quiet housekeeper who moved through his halls like a shadow. No, she was different, changed, transformed. The sunlight caught her hair, turning it into a fiery halo. Her skin glowed, bronze and flawless, radiant enough to blind him. Confidence rolled off her like the warm breeze stirring the palm leaves, and her smile, that smile was sharp, like a challenge thrown in his face. Jack's chest tightened, a strange sting, a burn of jealousy he didn't expect. Watching Emily glide across the patio floor, her dress clinging just enough to hint at curves he had never noticed before, left him trembling inside, his hands clenched into fists. Why did this feel wrong? Why did it unsettle him so much? She wasn't supposed to be like this. Not for him. Not ever. The air was thick with silent questions. The summer sun beat down hard, making everything crisp and vivid. The scent of freshly cut grass mingling with the faint hint of expensive cologne Jack always wore, but now felt useless. Emily's laughter floated over the pool, light and unrestrained. But behind his glass walls inside the mansion, Jack's mind raced. Her gaze met his once, just once, and something fierce flashed behind her eyes, something that dared him to look closer, to reach further than he ever had. The rumors in the staff quarters buzzed like angry bees. Have you seen Emily? She's different, like she's walking on fire. Others whispered, eyes darting when they passed the grand gates of the estate. The air outside was heavy, full of unspoken truths, like the dark family secret Jack's father had buried beneath their California roots. A secret that could crack everything wide open if Emily ever stumbled too close. A shadow moved at the edge of the garden. Tyler, Jack's rival, slick, cruel, always ready to exploit any weakness. Tyler's sharp eyes locked onto Emily's confident figure, his grin low and dangerous, as if he already knew her doubts, her fears. He whispered poisonous promises into the wrong ears, stoking the embers of Emily's insecurities, threatening to pull her back into the shadows she had fought so hard to escape. Jack swallowed hard. The old rules didn't hold anymore. The walls between them shook. He stepped forward, heart hammering, offering a hand wrapped in a promise, a marriage proposal that wasn't about power or possession, but equality. But Emily's eyes searched his for something else. Freedom, fear, desire? By the pool, under the blazing California sun, her reflection fractured, wild and untamed. And in that moment, Emily felt the weight of every step she'd ever taken, every glance that had underestimated her. The world had never wanted to see her glow. So where would she go from here? Would she take the love that meant safety, or would she blaze her own trail, alone but free? The pool rippled as a sudden breeze stirred the water, and with it, the fragile balance of their lives threatened to shatter. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comment. I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Jack stepped closer to the pool, heart racing. The heat hung thick in the air, making it hard to breathe. Emily was standing at the edge now, and her laughter bubbled like the water she splashed playfully. But there was something more in her eyes. A challenge. A spark. "Emily," he started, ready to bridge the distance between them. But then, no, it couldn't be. A loud crash echoed through the estate, a sound so jarring it snapped everyone's attention away. Tyler. He had stormed into view, a wild look in his expression. "Jack, get back! It's—" Before Tyler could finish, the ground shook beneath them. The pool rippled in chaos, as if the water itself was unsettled. A deafening roar erupted from the massive marble fountain at the center of the yard. Water shot up, high into the air, spraying everywhere like a broken showerhead. Jack shielded his eyes. What was happening? Then it came, a flash of something, an explosion of light, right at the edge of the mansion. "Everyone back!" Tyler shouted, panic lacing his voice. But it was too late. Emerging from the bright light, a figure tumbled forward, his father. Jack's heart stopped. The man had disappeared years ago, was presumed dead. Now he was here, wide-eyed and disheveled, stepping into the sunlight like a ghost dragged from the shadows. Jack's world flipped. "Dad?" The reaction slammed through him like a freight train. Emily's laughter faded into silence. She stepped back, confusion flickering over her face. The vibrant glow around her dimmed. The air was electric, thick with shock, as whispers rippled through the small crowd gathered at the pool. All eyes fixed on the newly reappeared man. "I'm sorry, Jack," his father breathed, voice raspy, haunted. "It's all connected. The family, the money. It's a lie." "What are you talking about?" Jack felt his chest tighten, a storm washing over him. Emily's expression morphed into something darker, disbelief, then fear. She had learned to strive, to shine, to break free. But now there was a ghost in the room, and it was pulling at her glow. Tyler's eyes narrowed, a predator sensing vulnerability. "This just got interesting," he whispered, looking between them like a vulture waiting for scraps. Jack's entire existence felt threatened. The ground beneath him swayed, as if he was standing on a cliff, ready to crumble away. "You abandoned us! You left!" His voice cracked with years of buried emotion. "I had to," his father started, but a scream cut through the air, sharp and raw. It echoed around the pool, bouncing off the tall walls of the estate, drawing every gaze. Emily stumbled back, clutching her dress as she gasped, staring at Jack's father with wide eyes. "You... ... You're the reason. It's all connected." "The rumors, the whispers." Jack's heart raced. "What does she mean?" His voice was barely a whisper, but it sliced through the tension, drawing eyes back to him. Suddenly, Emily's face hardened. "You knew, didn't you? All this time you knew." Time slowed. Everything felt suspended as the weight of truths buried deep surfaced like a dark wave. Jack's mind reeled. He had seen the flame in Emily's eyes, but this was more than jealousy. This was a reckoning. Before Jack could gather his thoughts, lights flickered. The house, their home, shuddered as if it were protesting what was to come. Shadows danced in the corners, whispers of secrets clung to the air like fog, and in that moment, everything shifted. The ground beneath them shook again, and Jack realized, what if everything he had known was built on a lie? Pain spiked in his chest. He took a step back, his mind racing. What future could possibly exist now? As the tremors rippled through the estate, he saw it. Emily's glow faltering, Tyler's ruthless satisfaction, and his father's haunted expression lurking behind a veil of regret. Uncertainty swallowed him whole. The only thing left was the question that echoed through the chaos, both a whisper and a scream. What did it all mean? The silence hung thick as Jack confronted his father, the awful truth settling in his gut like lead. Emily's eyes darted between them, and Tyler leaned closer, eyes shimmering with anticipation. Then came a sudden crack, a thunderous sound splitting the air. "Lal, what now?" Jack shouted, frustration bubbling just beneath the surface. Advancing toward the light, he felt the heat tug at him, raw and electric. The world around him shifted, colors swirling, merging into chaos. Then, out of the luminescence, a figure emerged. A woman, tall and dignified, stepping out as if from a dream, her long dark hair flowing like smoke behind her. Jack's heart hammered. Mom? Her presence was magnetic, pulling every eye within range, mouths agape, stunned. Jack could hardly breathe. His mother, the woman who had vanished without a trace all those years ago, now stood here, alive and vibrant. "Jack," she said, voice steady yet quivering with emotion. "I'm so sorry." He was frozen, feeling as if every truth he thought he knew had been torn apart. The comfortable illusion of their family was unraveling right before him. The whispers of his father's abandonment, the shadows they had lived under. "You left us! You both left!" He could barely form the words, rage intertwining with disbelief. "Listen to me," she pleaded, stepping forward, her eyes pleading. "It's more than you know. We had reasons. Dangerous reasons." Emily watched, wrapped in silence, the spark in her eyes flickering as her confidence shattered. She was caught between two worlds, the family she'd grown to love, and this chaos teeming with secrets. "You don't understand," Jack started, but the ground beneath him shifted again. The first tremor a mere precursor to what was to come. "Behind you!" Tyler shouted, his voice slicing through the tension. Everyone turned, eyes wide. The marble fountain, once grand and beautiful, cracked open, water gushing like a broken dam. But it wasn't water falling. It was more like dark liquid, pooling beneath their feet, glistening sinister in the sun. Jack's legs felt like jelly. "What is happening?" "Someone's trying to keep us quiet," his mother shouted over the chaos, pointing a trembling finger toward the mansion. "The family secret. It's not just money. It's much darker, Jack. We're not who we thought we were." Panic ignited, igniting whispers like wildfire. "What does she mean?" Emily gasped, clutching herself, as if she were trying to hold together what little confidence remained. Jack felt the ground tremble again, uncertainty spreading beneath their feet. Tyler sneered, eyes gleaming with delight. A real family reunion. Who knew? Suddenly the chaos reached a peak. The nightmarish liquid seeped forth, and from it emerged shadows, figures twisting and writhing, solidifying into terrible forms, their features obscured, but eyes glinting like daggers. Gasps filled the air as their presence brought fresh fear, a blanket smothering the rising tension. Jack felt a chill creep down his spine. What are they? The figures were thickening, surrounding the group. Memories flooded back, whispers in the dark, tales of wealth built on blood. The uncertainty churned within him, spilling out through shaky breath. "Jack, run!" his mother screamed, but fear surged before he could move. In that moment, everything shifted. Jack realized he was losing Emily, losing the only light in his life. Emily! He reached for her, but her gaze was lost, staring into the oncoming darkness. But the world tumbled on, shaking realities and trapping layers of truth. Had everything that had been built around them, every bond, been a carefully crafted lie? As the shadows advanced, a dreadful realization dawned. The truth was dark, too dark to comprehend, and Jack felt the ground beneath him swallow him whole. And in that shattering moment, one question echoed louder than the rest. Would anyone survive the weight of their hidden past? The shadows lunged closer, extending their tendrils as if they were alive, reaching for their prey. Jack felt a cold sweat break out across his forehead. Fear coursed through him like ice water. He couldn't let them take Emily, couldn't let them drag her into whatever hell was lurking in the darkness. All he could think about was their fear, their trembling fingers, their longing for safety. "Jack, stay back!" Emily shouted, her voice breaking through, but he couldn't. He wouldn't. "Mom!" he yelled, eyes darting back to her. Her face was a mask of terror. "We can face this together!" Yet the shadows surged forward, eyes glinting like shards of glass. Jack's heart slammed against his ribs as he shielded Emily with his body, the weight of uncertainty crashing over him. "Everyone, get inside!" Tyler yelled, pushing through the throng. But no one moved. The piercing fear had paralyzed them, trapping them in place. Jack's pulse thudded in his ears. He could hear the whispers now, frantic murmurs mingling with cries of disbelief. "What do we do?" someone shouted. "They're too close." Then the figures stopped. Everything halted. The chaos fell silent in an instant. Jack barely dared to breathe as the darkness began to swirl, becoming a vortex of shadows, coiling around them like smoke. In the eye of the storm, he sensed something more. A presence, a pulse. Suddenly, a deep voice echoed, rumbling through the air like thunder. "You think you know your truth?" Everyone froze. The shadows wavered. Jack's heart raced. "What do you mean?" he demanded, stepping forward, each word filled with defiance. His body trembled, but he refused to back down. "What are you hiding?" And there it was, the shift. The shadows pulled back, and in their stead, a figure began to solidify, stepping out of the dark like it was part of him. It was his brother. "Jake?" The name gasped from Jack's lips, a whisper of disbelief. You're alive?" The world swirled around them, leaving everyone gasping. Emily staggered back. Tyler's eyes glittered with recognition. "Of course I'm alive," Jake said, confidence pouring off him like light breaking through clouds. "You didn't think I just vanished, did you?" "No, Jack, I got away. While you were left here playing perfect son." Jackie's frozen. "You abandoned us!" Rage coiled around him like a snake, tightening its grip. "Why are you back? Why now?" With a laugh, Jake waved his hand. "Believe me, I had my reasons. But family will always pull you back in. But this?" He glanced around, his smirk fading. "This is a mess. The family secret. It's worse than you know." Jack's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "We were used, Jack, pawns in a game bigger than ourselves. And it's not just money. Our family wasn't built on love. It was built on control, on manipulation. You've been tangled in webs you can't even see." "No, you're wrong," Jack shouted, struggling to retain control over his spiraling world. "I love this family." "Do you?" Jake's tone turned cutting. "You don't even know the truth. The ties that bound us are drenched in blood." The shadows breathed around them, whispering secrets. Jack felt the ground shift again, a tremor coursing through the estate. Anxiety clouded his mind. What if everything he believed to be true was a carefully crafted illusion? What if the love he felt for Emily was just another thread in the tangled web? Then, from the depths of the darkness, a shriek pierced the silence, a woman's voice drowned in anguish. No! It was their mother, eyes wide with horror. "Don't expose it." Jack's breath hitched. She was terrified. "Expose what?" he yelled, desperation rising. "What is the truth?" "No, you shouldn't know." She was trembling, eyes darting back and forth. But confusion unspooled him. The shadows pulsed again, hungry shadows stepping closer, overwhelming them all. Jack couldn't breathe. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain at his side. He glanced down. Emily's hand gripped him, trembling, her eyes wide. "Stay with me," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. But it was too late. The chaos had ripped through their lives, unraveling everything they'd held dear. Had he lost her too? As Jack's heart raced, the reality around him began to blur. The only thing he could grasp was the question echoing in his mind. Could he ever trust anyone again? Would the truth shatter everything he knew? The shadows pressed in, the truth threatening to break loose, but the fear was palpable, the question hovering like a dark cloud. What have they all been hiding? The shadows lunged closer, extending their tendrils like living vines, reaching for their prey. Jack felt cold sweat trickle down his back. Panic ignited in his chest. He wouldn't let them take Emily. He wouldn't let them drag her into the darkness surrounding them. "Stay behind me," he shouted, positioning himself protectively in front of her, heart racing wildly. "Jack, get back!" Emily's voice cut through his resolve, a desperate cry. He couldn't. He wouldn't move. "We can't let them win." But while they stood together, everyone else was frozen, fear binding them like chains. The silence was thick, pressing down on them, choking hope. "What is it?" someone whispered nervously from the edge of the crowd. Jack was about to turn when he heard a voice emerge from the shadows, deep and rumbling. "You think you know your truth?" The moment hung heavy in the air, every heartbeat echoing like a drum. Jack squinted into the darkness. "What do you mean?" The breaths around him accelerated, building an atmosphere thick with unease. The shadows shifted, pulling back like a curtain, revealing a stage. Out stepped Jake, his brother. "Surprised to see me?" he smirked, arrogance dripping from his words. "You thought you knew what was going on? Let me enlighten you." "Jake." Jack's voice faltered in disbelief. "You're alive?" "Of course I am," he replied, brushing off the shock as if it were dust. "I got out while you stayed here playing nice, but you're tangled in webs that you can't even comprehend." Jack felt betrayal mixed with confusion swirl in his stomach, like a violent storm. "Why now?" His fists clenched, heat flooding his face. "What do you want?" "A family reunion. At the perfect moment," Jake replied, eyes glinting with mischief. "But the playmakers are back." "Playmakers?" Jack echoed, watching the shadows pulse and move, wrapping tighter around things he thought he understood. But before Jake could explain, a sudden scream pierced through the crowd. "No!" Their mother burst forward, her face pale as a ghost, desperation splattered across her features. "Stop this! You can't let him expose it!" The ground trembled violently beneath them, the estate shuddering like it was alive, riled by the secrets swirling in the air. Jack's heart raced as he looked back at Emily, her eyes wide with horror. "What does she mean?" "Jack, it's not safe," his mom yelled, fear thickening her voice. "You don't know everything." Then an intense burst of light erupted from the shadows. Jack barely shielded his eyes when he caught a glimpse, figures shifting in the glimmer. They were their shadows. They weren't just faceless forms. They were memories rising uninvited. "Here they come!" Tyler shouted, panic cracking his voice. The darkness around them thickened, shadows flexing and curling, reaching, gnashing teeth made of old regrets and pain, echoing secrets like a drum in the night. "Jack, we need to go!" Emily pulled on his arm, fear lighting a fire in her eyes. But the shadows locked him in place, and the truth was relentless. "No, I won't leave!" he shouted, fighting against the pull, tears stinging his eyes. "I can't abandon our family!" The shadows quivered, and suddenly, the figures of darkness coalesced into a more defined shape. A man, tall and striking, stepping into the creepy light. Jack held his breath. "Dad?" "Jack!" His father's voice trembled, filled with regret. "I'm so sorry." Jack staggered back as the realization hit him like a punch. It was so much more than he expected. You're the reason. You're the common thread through all of this." But before they could unravel that truth, a deafening noise echoed, like a cannon blast. The ground shook worse than before, and a crack appeared beneath them, a jagged wound in the earth. "Look out!" someone screamed, as the shadows surged, rushing together in a frenzy, spiraling like a cyclone. Then it happened. A bright light erupted, blinding and ethereal, roaring through the chaos. Jack braced himself, heart hammering. The darkness started to retract, pulling back like it was afraid. In that brief moment, clarity washed over Jack. He could feel it. What if they were the ones needed to expose the tangled story? What if the shadows were tied to not just family, but to all they were? And then he saw it. The light faded, revealing one last figure behind the reeling shadows. A woman, her face eerily familiar. "I've waited too long. Time to unravel the truth." Jack gasped, eyes widening. No, it can't be. But as the truth hovered unspoken, Jack's breath caught in his throat. Could this be the very reason they were all swept into darkness? Questions raced in his mind as the figure stepped forward, eyes glimmering with knowing. Everything you thought you understood is about to change. Who's ready to reveal their hidden past? In that instant, as Jack's heart raced and the shadows danced around them, the weight of family, secrets, and betrayal came crashing down. What if everything they knew was just the beginning, a mere facade waiting to be shattered? Jack's heart pounded as he stared at the woman slowly emerging from the shadows, his mother, alive and full of regrets. He felt dizzy, overwhelmed by the weight of her presence. But before anyone could breathe, the shadows swirled again, pulsating like a living thing, wrapping around them tighter. "You don't understand, Jack," she cried out, desperation shaking her voice. "We are not free. None of us are." Her words hung in the air, electric with fear. Tyler's grin faltered, and even Jake's confidence wavered. What could possibly be worse than what they already faced? "What are you saying?" Jack demanded, the urgency in his voice slicing through the tension. "I'm saying," she hesitated, glancing at the dark figures creeping closer, "that the family is cursed. The wealth, the lies, it's all bought with the blood of those who stood in our way." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Emily stepped back, bumping into a flower pot, her wide eyes reflecting the chaos. "Cursed?" she echoed, fear gripping her heart. "What do you mean?" Suddenly, the shadows reacted to her question, shifting and coiling more intensely, hungry for attention. Jack instinctively stepped closer to Emily, instincts roaring in his chest. "Stay behind me," he whispered, forcing calm against the tightening fear. But then, in the midst of it all, the lights flickered, intensifying. Jack squinted against the brightness, aware of the tendrils of darkness coming alive all around them. But then, everything erupted. The shadows surged forward, a howling tempest as the air crackled louder than ever. Jack's breath caught. He couldn't move. And in that moment, as if the universe shifted, the figure that emerged from the darkness wasn't just any shadow. It was revealed to be himself. "What the hell?" Jack stumbled back, feeling both dread and disbelief crash over him. He saw his face, distorted and shrouded in darkness, mirror his confusion. "That can't be right. I told you, the truth is not what you think," the shadow version of him whispered eerily, tone smooth, but awful, sending chills down Jack's spine. "You are just a pawn in this game, Jack." "No, this isn't possible." Jack shook his head, violently, as if he could dislodge the revelation. But, oh, it felt too real. The identical features, the glint of coldness in those eyes. Then the air pulsed again, a surge of heat igniting the tension. Everyone was frozen, staring at Jack's shadow as if it were some malignant god, expecting a devastating reveal. "You've been running, haven't you?" the shadow Jack taunted. "From the truth of who you are." "What truth?" Jack shouted, desperation clawing at him. His mind raced. What was his shadow even trying to say? "Listen to me," his mother cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. But the phantom Jack remained steady. "You've never known what it truly means to be part of this family. It's not about love. It's about power." Jack stood in confusion, as he felt the hot breath of the crowd pressing in. Tyler edged forward, eyes glinting with greed. "This is the best entertainment I've had in ages," he whispered, an edge of mania in his voice. The ground trembled again, cracks splintering through the earth as shadows seemed to beckon like sinister hands. Jack's shadow continued, words flowing like venom. "You, Jack, you're the chosen one, to decide the fate of our family, to break the cycle or continue it." Everything froze in that instant. A weight landed heavily over Jack, crushing him under its enormity. Could he be meant for more than this existence? But then, a flicker of disbelief danced through him. The burning question: was this shadow truly him? Was he meant to uphold or destroy? And then, just as the ground seemed ready to swallow them whole, Jack felt Emily grab his hand, her touch grounding him. "Jack!" she called, her voice sharp with anxiety. "Who are you, really?" In that suspended moment of chaos, the shadows swarmed closer, looming, and Jack blinked back tears. The weight of decisions hung heavy in his heart. What was he supposed to do? And as he gazed into the swirling darkness, he realized the answer was still out of reach. But the weight of the truth, the identities that were neither good nor evil, flowed between them, pulse quickening in cruel certainty. Would he embrace who he was meant to be, or flee from the darkness he never knew lurked within him? The shadows whispered, waiting. Would he surrender? The air trembled with the weight of secrets, every whisper like a tight string ready to snap. Jack's heart raced, his pulse echoing in his ears, as he stood like a stone, locked in disbelief. The shadow of himself grinned, a dark smile that promised chaos. Emily squeezed his hand, her warmth anchoring him, but the fear in her eyes pulled him down fast. "Jack, this isn't real," she urged. "We need to get away." But he was rooted to the spot, consumed by the words of the shadow. Everything felt like a game, with their family caught in a web of deception. "You don't understand," Jack shot back, clenching his fists, struggling against the storm gathering in his chest. "They're just shadows, lies." "No, Jack," his brother's shadow hissed, leaning in closer. "You'll soon find out how deep the lies go. The truth is, it all begins with you." The words sliced through the air like a knife. Jack staggered back again, feeling his mother's eyes bore into him. She was terrified, eyes wide, fear washing over her features. "Please, Jack, don't listen to him," she pleaded. Jake burst out laughing, a sound that chilled Jack to the very core. "What? You thought you could hide the truth forever? This has been a long time coming." Then, as the shadows swayed, the entire estate shivered with an unnatural wind. Whispers grew stronger, vibrant. They clawed at Jack's sanity. They knew. They always had known. Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to tremble violently, cracks splintering outward like veins in the dark. What was happening? Jack's breath quickened. "We need to go," he shouted, but it felt as if something unseen was holding him in place. "No!" the familiar voice roared, cutting through the chaos. Jack's father stepped forward from the encroaching darkness, eyes blazing with desperation. "This isn't how it's supposed to be. There's too much at stake." The shadows drew back slightly, as if they were uncertain, listening. But that moment of hesitation didn't last long. Jack turned to his father, confusion and anger battling for space in his mind. What's stake? You've kept us in the dark." But before his father could respond, a blinding light erupted from the mansion, piercing through the shadows. Everyone shielded their eyes, even Jack, a wave of panic washing through him. He felt lost in the sudden brightness. And just like that, everything changed. As the brightness faded, Jack's breath caught in his throat. Standing at the center was another figure, one he had never expected to see. His younger sister, Mia. "Mia?" he gasped, disbelief washing over him. The little girl who had been taken from them all those years ago, standing alive and whole before them. But the relief was short-lived. "You shouldn't have come back," their mother cried, her voice breaking, tears streaming down her face. "You don't know the dangers." Mia raised her hands, her voice steady, yet haunting. "No, Mom, you don't understand. The shadows are our family too. I've learned things that break everything you thought was true." Suddenly, the ground shook harder than ever, and the shadows writhed, as if responding to Mia's words. Jack could feel Emily's grip tightening around his hand. "What do you mean?" Jack shouted, panic clawing at his throat. Mia met his gaze, her eyes holding gravity. "I'm the key, Jack. I know what happened to us. You think we were abandoned? We weren't. We were part of a ritual." The crowd gasped, disbelief echoing through the air. Jack felt his heart pound painfully loud, each beat drowning out the whispers of the shadows. A ritual? His voice was barely a whisper, the truth wrapping around him like a vice. "What do you mean?" Before she could answer, the very walls of the mansion began to collapse, taking everything with it: family, shadows, secrets. And all Jack could think was this was no longer about him alone. There was something more sinister at play, and the stakes had never been higher. As dust and debris rained down, the last words Mia spoke hung weighty in the air, heavy and terrifying. "If we don't stop it together, we could lose everything." In that moment, Jack realized this family wasn't just fighting ghostly shadows. No, they were entangled deeper in a darkness that might swallow them whole. Would they finally embrace the truth, or would the weight of their hidden past tear them apart forever? The shadows writhed around them, a living mass of darkness and secrets, pulsating with an energy that felt alive. Jack's heart thundered in his chest as he stood between his family and the chaos. The weight of Mia's revelation pressed down on him, threatening to crush his sanity. "A ritual? What do you mean?" he shouted over the growing cacophony. Mia stepped forward, her eyes fierce yet frightened. "It's all connected, Jack. Our past, our family. It's tied to something we can't escape. They've been feeding off our pain." "What pain?" Jack felt the tension in the air thickening, crackling like static, threatening to ignite. The shadows closed in tighter, and uncertainty clawed at his throat. "We need to understand this." Suddenly, a blinding white light erupted between them, pushing back the shadows. Jack shielded his eyes, vision swimming. No, not now. He could see figures illuminated by the light, moving like ethereal dancers. Then, in the eye of that light, something shocking happened. A heavy fog swirled, coalescing into a form, a familiar shape. "Mom?" The word slipped from his lips, a hesitant whisper. But it wasn't his mother who stepped forward. It was the figure of a woman he knew all too well, a woman who had vanished, a woman who had haunted his childhood dreams. "No, it can't be," Jack gasped, realization crashing over him like a wave. "Your mother and I," the woman began, her voice echoing with familiarity. "We were never who you thought we were. We're the guardians of a line that runs deeper than blood. And more dangerous." "What are you talking about?" Jack's voice shook, the ground trembling beneath him, as if the earth itself was reacting to her presence. The woman smiled sadly, a flicker of warmth in her gaze. "The truth is, Jack, you are destined to lead us into a new age, not just of our family, but of all families. A reckoning bound by magic, a curse intertwined in our blood." His heart raced, confusion mixing with fear. Magic? Curses? The words felt foreign, yet familiar, vibrating with an energy that resonated through him. Mia's voice broke through the noise, urgency sharp. "Jack, please, we can't let her manipulate you." The woman's expression hardened. "Manipulation? I came to protect you." But Jack's mind spun. "Protect us? It was like he was watching the pieces of a puzzle scatter, each piece disjointed and chaotic. As he tried to grasp reality, the shadows seemed to pulse in laughter. Then everything exploded. A shockwave shattered the space around them. A brilliant flash of light broke free, blinding them all. The ground quaked violently, sending everyone tumbling to the ground. Jack felt something hard strike his side, pain blooming through his body. But he wouldn't let go of Emily's hand. As the dust settled, Jack's vision cleared. Something had changed. The shadows receded, revealing a swirling mass of energy, a portal opening right before them. "What is this?" someone gasped, as the air thickened with anticipation. "That's our way out," the woman said, her eyes glinting with something ancient and powerful. "But it comes at a cost." "What kind of cost?" Jack felt dread pooling in his stomach as the shadows twitched, eager for a sacrifice. "Your truth." Her voice was low, dangerous. "If you step through, you must face who you truly are, not just who you think you are." Everything froze as silence engulfed them. Their gazes met, filled with fear, yearning, and longing. Jack's heart raced. What if they stepped through that portal? What might it reveal? And then it hit him like a thunderbolt, a terrifying revelation. You know this whole time? Who I really am?" The woman nodded slightly. "And you, Jack, are the missing piece we need to end the cycle. But it means sacrificing everything you've known. The relationships built on lies, the love that reshapes identities." Stunned, Jack felt the world tilt. "What?" His voice cracked. "Everything?" And in that moment, the shadows erupted into chaos. They leapt forward, an insatiable hunger consuming the air. And Jack's breath hitched painfully. The urgency clawed at him now. If he didn't make a decision, everything would be lost, and everyone he loved would slip into darkness forever. All those relationships and bonds, they could dissolve like smoke, leaving only the raw truth behind. "Jack," Emily's voice broke through, grounding him. "Whatever happens, I'm with you." But the darkness surged again, desperate and hungry. Jack could feel it pulling at him like a tidal wave. As he turned to the swirling portal, terror and hope mingled within him. Whatever faced him inside that other realm could shatter everything he thought he knew. Would he dare step forward into the unknown? Would he risk all he held dear to uncover the lost truths of his family? As the shadows lunged forward, Jack took a deep breath, heart pounding, and stepped toward the light, ready to face whatever awaited on the other side. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everyone's stares on him while he stood at the threshold of the light. Emily's hand felt warm, grounding him against the chaos swirling around them. The truth lay inside the portal, the unknown beckoning like a siren. "Let's go," he said, heart pounding. Together they stepped forward, the world blurring around them as the light engulfed them completely. In an instant, they crashed against an unseen way. It felt like they were being forced to choose. Jack's heart raced. "What now?" he shouted, desperate. Emily's grip tightened. "We have to keep going." But just as they pressed forward, the ground groaned under their feet. With uncanny speed, figures started to emerge from the darkness, a parade of twisted, shadowy forms that slowly began morphing into familiar faces. "What's happening?" Jack gasped, fear slamming into him as he recognized his grandfather's face, twisting grotesquely in the shadows. "No!" Mia screamed, pulling back. "That's not just anyone. That's Jack." His grandfather's voice thundered, laced with pain. "You have to understand. I never meant for you to bear this burden." The world stopped. Time stretched as Jack processed those words. What burden? But before he could respond, the shadows surged violently, slithering toward him. Jack felt bile rise in his throat as he fought the urge to back away. The shadows reached out, cold tendrils grasping at him, threatening to drag him into their depths. "Jack!" Emily's scream cut through the surge. He turned and saw her standing back, face pale, eyes wide with terror. "Get away from them." "Don't," Jack shot back, defiance igniting within him. He reached out, desperate to hold Mia's hand, but she seemed to fade, her form jittering like a broken image on a screen. "Jack, you have to make a choice." Mia's voice echoed through the din, urgency dripping with something darker. "There's no time." Suddenly, without warning, a blinding light erupted from where they stood, almost like a supernova. Jack shielded his eyes, and in that moment, everything shifted. The light pulsed and exploded outward, revealing the truth. The shadows melted away, revealing everyone he had ever known. "Mom?" Jack gasped, but the faces shifted, revealing more. Friends, family, people who had walked through his life spoke in unison, their voices merging into one. "You must choose." "Choose what?" Jack yelled, stumbling backward, heart racing. "What is this? Why are you doing this?" "She holds the key," they all pointed, and Jack's breath caught in his throat. Emily blinked, confusion etched on her face. Then, in the heart of that light, a figure peeled away from the shadows. It was his mother, beautiful, striking, yet cold. Her gaze pierced through him like arrows. "You, my son, are a vessel. The bloodline has power beyond your understanding." Stunned, Jack's world spun off-axis. "No! What do you want from me?" Dread wove through him like a dark thread. "What's going on?" She stepped closer, voice steady, yet filled with emotion. "Everything has been a lie, Jack. This family, the shadows, everything was designed to protect you. But the cost? The price is more than you ever imagined." "What are you saying?" Jack's voice trembled. The shadows pulled back, leaving silence hanging in the air like heavy fog. He could feel the disorientation clouding his thoughts as the figures dissolved into whispers, 1,000 voices merging into one. Then Emily gasped, her eyes wide. "Jack, it's you. You're the one they need. You're the final key in this deadly game." Shock washed over him like a cold wave. No, I'm just me. I'm just Jack." But Emily's expression shifted. It was a mix of betrayal and horror. "You're not just anyone, Jack. You hold everything. Our past, our future, it's all connected to you." And with those final words, it clicked. A realization so devastating, it tore at him like dagger punches. "You didn't," he breathed, and the world swayed around him. The light flickered, shadows lunged forward again, and for a heartbeat, Jack saw it all. Emily's gaze, filled with something darker, more complicated than love. Had he been naive? Had she known? And just like that, the weight of it all crashed over him. In the blinding light, Jack made a choice. But as he stood there, facing the blurring faces of his loved ones, twisted by the shadows, he had one burning question lingering unanswered. What if Emily was never who she seemed? The chaos surged around Jack. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, and the shadows twisted, writhing as if sensing a shift. Time felt suspended, filled with tension. Jack met Emily's gaze, her eyes reflecting shock, fear, and a spark of determination. "We can't let them win," she whispered, voice trembling but strong. "Take my hand," Mia urged, stepping closer, her expression a mix of hope and fear. "Together, we can face this. We can break the cycle." Jack nodded, heart pounding. They needed to unite against the darkness. As they clasped hands, a rush of warmth enveloped them, urging them forward. "Let's do this," he shouted. A surge of energy flowed through him, feeding from their combined resolve. The light brightened, pushing back the shadows, illuminating every face in the crowd. The voices of those they had lost echoed around them, memories swirling like mist. "Jack!" His mother's voice drifted through the chaos. "You have the power to shape our fate." With a shout, Jack flung himself into the light, and with Mia and Emily on either side, they felt the shadows recoil. The darkness thrashed against the brilliance, shrieks piercing the air as it fought for dominance. But they were stronger together. Suddenly, chaos exploded as the light engulfed them completely. Jack's vision blurred, and he felt weightless, suspended between worlds. Faces morphed in and out. Memories slipped through his fingers like sand. He clung tighter to Emily and Mia, feeling the warmth of their presence anchor him. Then the pull released. They landed softly, the world crystallizing around them. They stood in a vast expanse, vibrant colors washing everything in a warm glow. Silence wrapped around them, caressing their senses. Jack looked around, breath hitching. Is this freedom? Mia took a step forward, wonder etched on her face. I think so. We broke the cycle. Her voice trembled with awe. The shadows faded in the distance, dissolving like fog in daylight, their whispers silenced. But then, a chill ran down Jack's spine, a flicker of unease. What if it's not over? He breathed, glancing around anxiously. The air felt charged, like the stillness before a storm. Emily squeezed his hand, determination flaring in her eyes. We'll face whatever comes next together, she promised, her voice steady. We're not alone anymore. Their hearts, once bound by fear, now pulsed with hope. The shadows hadn't disappeared entirely. They merely transformed, becoming part of their journey. Jack realized they had all changed. He could feel it deep within himself. Yet a question lingered, weighing heavy on his mind. What would they do with this new freedom? It's a new beginning, he murmured, looking at his family. But that means we have to make choices. True choices. But uncertainty crackled in the air, an unspoken question hanging between them. What truths would surface? What challenges lay ahead? Suddenly, Jack remembered the eyes of the shadows, the voices of the past. We need to figure out what they meant by curse, he uttered, fear slicing through the moment. We can't ignore it. As they stood together, hands clasped, the light around them shimmered, casting a glow that felt alive. Jack knew their journey was far from over, but as long as they stood united, they could face anything. Are you ready? Emily asked softly, gazing at him with fierce determination. Jack took a deep breath, meeting her gaze. We're ready. And with that, they stepped forward, ready to uncover the mysteries still to come. Before you go, listen closely. You must subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories waiting for you. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this gripping ending. And don't wait one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this thrilling conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with your actions, so let's make it count.